You ever wondered why some economies grow rapidly while others struggle to keep up? What causes prices to rise, unemployment to increase, or governments to change economic policies? In this video, we're breaking down the 8 key topics of economic growth that every A-level economics student needs to understand. We'll explore what economic growth is, how it's measured using real GDP, and why it matters for living standards, jobs, and future prosperity. You'll also discover the main sources of economic growth, including investment, technology, human capital, and infrastructure. Then we'll examine different types of growth, work through a real GDP growth example, and discuss the major challenges that can slow an economy down. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how economic growth drives more output, better living standards, and a brighter future. So, if you're preparing for exams or simply want to master one of the most important topics in economics, let's get started. Economic growth is the long-term increase in the value of goods and services produced by a country. In simple terms, it means an economy is becoming more productive and generating more output over time, often using the same or even fewer resources. Now that we understand what economic growth is, the next question is, how do economists measure it? The most widely used measure is real gross domestic product, or real GDP. Real GDP shows the total value of all goods and services produced in an economy while adjusting for inflation. This allows us to see the true increase in production rather than changes caused by rising prices. To calculate economic growth, economists use the real GDP growth rate formula. The difference between this year's real GDP and last year's real GDP is divided by last year's real GDP and then multiplied by 100 to get a percentage. For example, if real GDP increased from $850 billion last year to $950 billion this year, the economy's growth rate would be approximately 11.76%. The process involves 4 main steps. First, measuring total production. Second, adjusting for inflation. Third, calculating real GDP. And finally, determining the growth rate. The chart on the right shows real GDP rising steadily from $600 billion in 2019 to $950 billion in 2023, indicating consistent economic expansion over time. Economic growth is essential for improving the quality of life and creating a better future for individuals, businesses, and the entire nation. First, economic growth increases income and living standards. As businesses produce more goods and services, people often earn higher wages, enjoy better job opportunities, and gain access to improved housing, healthcare, and education. Second, economic growth creates more jobs and reduces unemployment. Expanding businesses need more workers, providing employment opportunities and improving people's livelihoods. Third, economic growth helps reduce poverty. It generates opportunities and resources that enable individuals and families to improve their living conditions and move out of poverty. Economic growth expands government revenue for public services. Increased economic activity leads to higher tax revenues, allowing governments to invest in schools, hospitals, security, and other essential services. Fifth, economic growth encourages investment and innovation. A growing economy attracts investors and motivates businesses to develop new ideas, technologies, and more efficient ways of producing goods and services. Sixth, economic growth strengthens a country's global competitiveness. Higher productivity and efficiency help nations compete successfully in international markets and attract foreign investment. Seventh, economic growth improves infrastructure and development. It provides the resources needed to build and maintain roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, and other vital facilities that support everyday life. Finally, economic growth promotes social stability and national progress. Better economic conditions can contribute to stronger communities, greater opportunities, and a more prosperous society. The key takeaway is simple: economic growth drives development, improves lives, and builds a stronger and more prosperous future for everyone. Economic growth does not happen by chance. It is driven by several important factors that increase an economy's productive capacity over time. These factors are known as the sources, or determinants, of economic growth. The first determinant is capital formation. Investment in machinery, factories, buildings, infrastructure, and equipment helps businesses produce more goods and services efficiently. The more productive capital an economy has, the greater its ability to grow. The second determinant is the labor force. A larger and more skilled workforce contributes to higher output. When workers are productive, innovative, and well-trained, the economy becomes stronger and more competitive. Third is technological progress. Innovation and improved technology make production faster and more efficient. New technologies can lower costs, improve product quality, and increase overall productivity. The fourth determinant is human capital. Education, training, and good health equip people with the knowledge and skills they need to perform effectively. Investing in people increases their productivity and supports long-term economic growth. Fifth is infrastructure development. Reliable roads, electricity, telecommunications, transportation systems, and other essential facilities reduce business costs and improve efficiency. Good infrastructure creates an environment where businesses can thrive. Finally, good governance and strong institutions play a vital role. Political stability, the rule of law, protection of property rights, and effective government policies encourage investment, build confidence, and promote economic activities. Economic growth can be classified into two main types: potential growth and actual growth. First, let's look at potential growth. Potential growth refers to the maximum sustainable rate of growth an economy can achieve when all of its resources are fully utilized. These resources include labor, capital, and technology. Potential growth depends on factors such as productivity, technological advancement, education, infrastructure, and strong institutions. It represents the economy's long-term growth path and reflects what the economy is capable of producing without creating excessive inflationary pressure. Now, let's examine actual growth. Actual growth is the real growth achieved by an economy during a specific period of time. Unlike potential growth, it is influenced by short-term factors such as consumer demand, government policies, business confidence, and unexpected external events. As a result, actual growth can be higher than potential growth when resources are overused, or lower than potential growth when resources are underutilized. Because these conditions change over time, actual growth tends to fluctuate. Let's look at a practical example of real GDP growth. Real GDP measures the value of goods and services produced in an economy after adjusting for inflation, giving a more accurate picture of economic performance. In this example, real GDP increased steadily from $600 billion in 2019 to $950 billion in 2023. The upward trend shown in the chart indicates that the economy expanded over this period. To calculate the growth rate, we compare real GDP in 2023 with real GDP in 2022 using the growth rate formula. Real GDP in 2022 was $850 billion, while in 2023 it rose to $950 billion. Applying the formula, the growth rate is 11.76%. This means that after accounting for inflation, the economy grew by 11.76% between 2022 and 2023. The key takeaway is that real GDP growth helps economists measure the true increase in economic output and assess whether an economy is expanding over time. Although economic growth brings many benefits, several challenges can slow it down and prevent an economy from reaching its full potential. First, high inflation reduces the purchasing power of consumers, increases production costs for businesses, and creates uncertainty that discourages investment and savings. Second, unemployment lowers household incomes, reduces consumer spending, and results in the underutilization of valuable human resources. Third, political instability and conflict disrupt economic activities, create uncertainty, and discourage both local and foreign investors. Fourth, poor infrastructure, such as inadequate roads, electricity, and communication systems, increases business costs, reduces efficiency, and limits access to markets and essential services. Fifth, limited access to finance makes it difficult for businesses and individuals to obtain affordable credit, restricting investment, productivity, and expansion. Finally, environmental degradation and climate change can damage ecosystems, reduce agricultural and industrial productivity, and impose significant economic costs over time. Understanding these challenges helps governments and societies develop policies that promote stability, encourage investment, and support sustainable economic growth for the future. To sum up, economic growth is essential for improving living standards, creating jobs, encouraging innovation, and supporting long-term development. As we've learned, growth is driven by factors such as investment, technology, human capital, and good governance. When managed effectively, economic growth can lead to greater prosperity and a better future for everyone. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more A-level economics content and exam preparation tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.